Hello and welcome to On Point. I'm Greg Donnell. Today we're going to be talking about poverty and its effects on our community. Joining us today we have Dr. Kenny Covington, a professor of urban studies and planning at Cal State Northridge. Next we have Richard Weinroth, a Men's Food Bank director and executive chef. And finally we have Gregory C. Scott, president and CEO of the Weingarten Center. All right, now let's jump right in. Dr. Covington, a recent study was released showing current poverty statistics. Could you tell us a little bit about the report?
Well, these are numbers that we feared. With everything going on, this is certainly one of our worst times since the Great Depression in the 1930s. And so we call this the Great Recession, that it's gotten that term. And so being upwards of 15% poverty rates, that suggests that that's 1 out of 7 families, American families, are in poverty. And certainly those are numbers that we should be concerned about.
Okay, and we hear so much about the poverty line. Could you tell us exactly what it is?
Well, poverty is measured by the basket of goods that families need, right, and the cost of the basket of goods that families need. And so generally we talk about poverty and we use the number $22,000. So if a family is making under $22,000, they are considered under the poverty line. And so, and that's for a family of 4. So generally, on average, we have families with 2 parents and 2 children. And so that's for a family of 4. That poverty threshold changes with the number of members in the family.
What does that normally mean for the people that are living underneath poverty lines? Are there more services that they're entitled to get, or?
Certainly we have something called a social safety net in the U.S. And that social safety net is made up of a number of different kinds of programs. Some of you may have heard of welfare, or it's now called TANF, Temporary Assistance to Needy Families. We also have housing programs like Section 8, that's affordable housing for the poor. We have some public housing kinds of programs. But overall, the social safety net has been weakened over time. Our social safety net isn't as strong as it used to be, and so we are catching less poor families with the safety net that we have.
And Mr. Weinroth, you work for the MEND organization. Could you tell us what MEND stands for?
MEND's been around for nearly 40 years. MEND stands for Meet Each Need with Dignity. And we try to do our best to bridge that gap for those families in need.
Could you tell us a little bit about the services that you guys provide for families that are in need?
Of course. I'm the director of the food bank. Not only do we offer our food bank service to those in need and have outreach to 30 other pantries throughout the Valley and the LA area, but we offer education and training. We have clothing. We have medical, dental, vision. We have Spanish classes, English classes, computer classes. We try to give the people that need it most the tools to help them change their situations for the better.
Okay, and you said you're the food bank director. Could you explain a little bit about what a food bank is? Maybe how you guys get your food and how you decide to disperse it and everything.
Of course. We're not only a food bank, but a food pantry. So a food bank will actually service other food pantries. Food pantries service the public directly. My job as the food bank director is to make sure that we have enough food to give out to the hungry. And the number's been getting bigger and bigger. Since I've started just under 2 years ago, the number's more than doubled. And I mean, we've been really fortunate. We've more than doubled incoming donations for food, and we've really been focusing on fresh food, focusing on nutrition. Because, you know, these numbers that we get from the statistics, these are people, and we're trying to affect change for them for the better. So every time you hear 1 in 7 people, that's actually 1 in 7 people. That's somebody that you know. It's a friend of your family, it's your brother, it's your sister-in-law, it's your neighbors.
And we were talking a little bit earlier about how you were trying to keep the people that come into your food bank healthier. How are you doing that?
Well, you know, as you know, for the most part, the very least expensive items to eat are often the very worst for you. And, you know, nutrition in America is in a difficult spot. I mean, when you can buy a really delicious 99-cent double cheeseburger, it makes it a little bit out of the realm to, for example, saute up some greens and some fresh carrots and work on a vegetarian diet. So we've actually been offering up to 40–50% of the emergency food boxes that we give away are actually fresh produce. And we often give out recipes to go with these and have a big wall of nutrition now at Mend, where we show people that if you've never seen a blueberry before, these are your options. Mm-hmm. If you've never seen kale, these are your options. If you've never seen patty pan squash, there are so many items that people see and they're like, what do I do with this? And these foods are truly the best foods that you can possibly eat. So we're trying to give people nutrition, trying to help them understand that you can be creative in the kitchen and make something fantastic for next to nothing.
Okay. And Mr. Scott, you're on the front lines. So how often do you find that poverty is a cause of homelessness, as opposed to someone who's dealing with a drug problem or maybe mental illness?
Well, poverty certainly is one of the issues as it relates to homelessness. As you stated, I serve as president and CEO of the Weinroth Center Association, and we're located right on Skid Row, so we're right in the heart, right on ground zero when we talk about homelessness and poverty, especially here in Los Angeles. There are 48,000 homeless people in LA County. It's bigger than some small cities around the country. It's the highest concentration of homelessness anywhere in the country. And if you just looked at downtown, what we call Skid Row, we like to call it Hope Row. So if you just looked at downtown, on any given night, there's 5,000 or 6,000 homeless people just downtown. Again, it's the homeless capital and the largest concentration of homeless people anywhere in the country. So when you begin to look at some of the issues that relate to homelessness, if this was 60 years ago, people would just focus on alcoholism as a reason why people are homeless. And now it's the face of homelessness. As you look at homelessness now, over the last 40, 50 years, and even as we talked about the economy being the way it is, people 3 years ago who never thought they'd be knocking on our doors are now knocking on all of our doors for services. And doctors, and people who have PhDs, and people who have master's degrees, families, women who've been involved in domestic violence or have gone through a divorce, children. There are 1 million homeless children throughout the country on any given night. So when you begin to look at those numbers, poverty is one level, but when you bring in homelessness, that's a totally different ballgame. And one of the things that the Weinroth Center does, we're probably one of the largest service providers anywhere in the country. So we have a facility of 11 stories. On any given night, we house over 600 people. We have several different residential programs and non-residential programs. We focus on programs for veterans, programs for women. A big centerpiece of what we do is focus on workforce development. And the reason why we do that goes back to your initial question about poverty. So one of the things that we do in terms of the comprehensive services we try to provide is to help people get back into the job force, along with handling, addiction issues, mental health issues, and all the other issues. So it's creating affordable housing, because that's an issue, especially here in Los Angeles. So affordable housing is an issue why people become homeless. It's poverty, and then you add on all those other layers, and you can see how comprehensive the problem is.
Okay.